Hello everyone, welcome to Sunday Satsang, kind of our version of Sunday going to church or temple or synagogue or wherever you happen to go when you used to do things like that. Maybe some of you still do. I had a question come to me that I thought I would open with today, and it's very interesting. Answering the question, it was an audio, and she was really having a hard time even forming the question, kind of jumping around, which is kind of indicative of this whole subject about oneness and the illusion of self and other. It's indicative of pretty much everybody trying to approach that. How can there not be another? How can everything be a reflection of me? Well, in her case, it was very practical what she was asking. She says, how do I love another person when nobody exists? When they say you have to love yourself before you can love anybody else, it's half true. So if everyone is a reflection of you and nobody does exist, so how can you love another person? This is let's take up this whole subject of oneness, self, and other, and of course, at the root of it is, who are you? Who am I? Because everything, I is first person. There's a reason why it's first person, because everything else is relative to that. You is only relative in reference to I. He, she, and it are only in reference to I. So the way you understand I, how you see the I or myself, is obviously going to color your perception of everyone else. Now, I don't think anybody would find it difficult to understand that what we experience of others is largely our own perception, is totally our perception of them. You can never know somebody in their entirety unless you've lived their life and had their entire experience. So we have a perception of them, which means we have a conception of them. To us, they are a certain set of attributes, a certain set of qualities that we've come to believe make them up. And then something can happen, and an attribute or a quality emerges that seems completely out of character with your perception. And your entire perception can actually shift to exactly the opposite. The one you couldn't stand now can become your best friend, and the one that you thought was wonderful now becomes horrible. The truth is never in any of the extremes. So how do we come to see people as they actually are? How do we cut through our perceptions? The very first of the 4 bodhisattva practices that were given by Buddha was becoming adept at distinguishing the perceptions of your own mind. What is the perception of my own mind? And the more you do that, the more you're willing to contemplate that, the more you recognize that your entire experience of anything, of be it a flower or a computer or another human being, is in fact your perception. Now there's something exists, right? There's something that we are interacting with, but we don't really ever know what it is. That is, we can't know what it is until we know ourselves. Because if you know yourself, you will know all of it. You will know them. Because they are a reflection of you. Now, on one level, we have to understand, we have to see it the way most people see it, and that is, there are other people, they're real, they're walking around, they have lives, they're sentient, they're doing things. and then there's me, and we have interactions, and I have an experience of them, and I exist and live, and my experience is completely colored, is my perception of them. And if perception fits something that's, a positive, then I have a positive experience. If it's negative, then I have a negative experience. All of which is relative to me. I'm the one who defines which is which. And let me go back to make sure I'm covering everything she says. So, when they say you have to love yourself before you can love anybody else, I think more accurately is you have to know yourself before you can know anybody else. You have to know yourself as you are, because you will see everything in the world from your perspective, from who you think yourself to be. It is simple as that. How you see yourself will determine how you see the rest of the world. Right. So now let's go to another level with it. Anything exist at all? Again, you have to know yourself first. When people make those kinds of non-dual statements, like there's nothing here but myself, nothing exists, it is all an illusion. It's usually coming from an absolutist place. Oftentimes it's naive. It isn't really accurate. What's better? Well, who are you? That's the question. Who are you? Right? This is the thing we have to get to. Right now, just for fun, I want you to see if you can set aside all the ideas you think you have, all the ideas you do have about who you think you are. Set them all aside, just for a moment. As if you don't know yourself at all, because remember, just like you only have a perception of someone else, you only have a perception of yourself. The human mind is not capable of grasping the totality of you. And so there's a sense of identity that's very contracted. It's only as big as the mind can grasp. So let's see if we can put that aside and go beyond the mind. And go to a place that is not limited by conceptions. Right? Go to a place that is the realm of pure experience, of just pure being. So that means letting go of your memories about yourself. Just set them aside. Thoughts are going to come. There's nothing you can do about that. Thoughts are always going to come. There's no need to stop them. You're just, in this moment, choosing to not engage with them. You're choosing to simply not become wrapped up in the story. You're just being. And the same thing about the future. The immediate future and the long distance future. How you want to have peace in the world, or your highest aspirations for yourself and for everybody else, the kind of world you want to live in. And set that aside as well. Just let all of that go. Even the questions you brought to Satsang, just set them aside. And just notice what's here that you cannot set aside. Notice what remains when you have simply emptied yourself of everything. What's left? What can you not set aside? And notice it's just a very still, silent sense of your own existence. Free of all concepts, free of all conceptualization. Now notice, thoughts still come and go. The sensations are still going in a flow. All of the stuff that's normally appearing is still appearing. But just without engaging in any of it, just watching it, what remains? What is here? In other words, what are you? So you see this question of who am I? We tend to habitually want to answer it from the point of view of a concept. We find ourselves looking for a better, more comprehensive concept. But no concept can capture the universe. No concept can capture the infinite. By definition, it is beyond all concepts. Being, your being, is beyond all concepts. So set aside even trying to know who you are. And just be what you are. And notice it's effortless. You don't have to try. You just are. Notice that you can't find a time when it began. You can't conceive of a time when it would end. You just are, the verb to be, forever in present tense. Now this is the simple answer to the question who you are without resorting to the mind. Who am I? I am this unspeakable something. Now, in this place where there's no conception whatsoever, and you're just in this state of pure existence, and there are a number of us here, all doing this at the same time. Can you imagine that someone else, what appears to be someone else, going through this same exercise, that they're going to find something different than what you found? They're going to have a very different experience than this sense of being? Is it not self-evident that this sense of being is universal? It is the ultimate. There's no place beyond it, because it's free of all concepts. You think anyone is experiencing anything different than that? Well, that would mean that however anyone appears, and the attributes, the characteristics that appear, of course, are going to be different from person to person, and they're going to change over time, and you're never going to see them all, any more than I can see all of the different aspects of the flower at the same time. It will come out over time. But in the essence, putting all of the attributes aside, just like you've done with you, do you think you'll find anything different than what is you? This is how you come to see that we are all one. Not a bunch of us acting together as one, but one that is simply manifested in an infinite number of variations and of attributes. The one expresses itself as the many. And so to love yourself is to love the other, to cherish this within you, is to cherish it within them. This is the namaste. The divinity in me recognizes the divinity in you. And in order to do that, you have to see the appearance through the appearances. You have to see beyond how it looks on the surface. We have to lose the idea that this set of attributes constitutes a self or an I, and see that it is nothing but a set of attributes. This sense of being should be worshipped like God, because it is God. This is the God that has always been spoken of. That word has been twisted into becoming this ultimate, all-powerful other, who is more of a punisher than a benefactor. But it's not true. This is just how the mind has distorted it into this ultimate other. But there isn't an other. God is the self. This is a word for this experience that you're having right this moment. The sense of being, the sense I am. This is what is known as God. Now, one of my very favorite things that I've read, I want to read a little bit to you. It's from Balyani. I don't know how to pronounce his whole name. But he's a contemporary of Rumi, a 13th century Sufi mystic. And he wrote to know yourself is to know the Lord, your Lord. He wrote a beautiful book just exploring this. Now, he uses the term God, and he uses God as they did in that tradition in the masculine, so it's referred to he or him, but it's not a he or him. The point he's trying to make, when I read it, is that we mistake what is in fact a bunch of attributes for an entity. We say this is a flower. We say that the scent is an aspect of the flower. The leaves are an aspect of the flower. The petals of it. But take away all the attributes. Would there be a flower? The flower is not a thing that has attributes. The flower is simply a name we've given to this bundle of attributes. Everyone you meet is simply a unique bundle of attributes, which we have given a name, a sense of existence to, a sense of their coming and going. Right? And then we think of that as an independent self. And yet that I, that person, doesn't exist separate from those attributes. Now, attributes are always relative to something else. They're secondary. They're an attribute of something. So it's an attribute of that person. I say, no, it's not an attribute of the person. The person is the attributes. What are the attributes an attribute of? That is the sense of being. That is the God. It is all attributes of that one being, which is yourself. And this is the way he put it. There is no existence to any other who could pass away or have a name or be named. The name is just a name. It's not make a thing. Because of this, the prophet, God bless him and give him peace, said, whoever knows their self knows their Lord. He also said, I knew my Lord through my Lord. What the prophet pointed out by that is that you are not you, but you are him, and there is no you. It is not that he enters into you, or that you enter him, or that he comes out of you, or that you come out of him. It does not mean that you have being and you are qualified by this or that attribute. What is meant is that you never were and never will be, whether through yourself or through him, or in him or with him. You have neither ceased to be, nor are you existent. You are him, and he is you without any of these imperfections. If you know your existence in this way, then you know God. God is the self. And that sense of being that we just touched, everyone touches exactly the same sense of being. And in fact, the everyone who is touching that sense of being is none other than him. Well, that was a long introduction. And I am a little tired today. It's been quite a week. But anyway, let me go through and see what is on your minds and hearts today. So I hope that was useful to you. The sense of self and other disappears into the oneness. Which is why Buddha could say, when I attained the great unexcelled enlightenment, simultaneously all beings attained the great unexcelled enlightenment. He could say that literally because he saw only one being. There was only one, which is what the Buddha means, the awakened one. Joanna, hello. What to do with frustration on the spiritual journey? Some days I feel like everything is clear and I have huge insights and there are no clouds in the sky, the Red Sea is parting. And other days it feels like all the insights are gone and old patterns are playing again. It feels very frustrating going back and forth like this. Is this something others experience too? Thank you. Anybody here who has not experienced that, please raise your hand. I don't think any hands are going to go up, Joanna, because that is the spiritual journey. The coming to terms with the ups and downs, which really means we're expecting something other than what's actually happening. And that expectation is what creates the suffering, the frustration, and a subtle sense that I must be doing something wrong. I must be off somewhere. I must not be getting it. Right? It's exactly the opposite is true. You not only are getting it, you are doing it. You are living it. The awareness of the ups and downs as ups and downs. Now simply drop the expectation that it should be anything other than that. And then notice something really critical. Some days there's this incredible clarity. Thoughts are just flowing. Everything just makes perfect sense. And then other days there's no insight. I feel dense as a post. The old patterns just are there again. Now, we're looking for the truth, right? We're looking for reality. Now, truth can't fluctuate. It can't be true one day and false the next. Right? Reality can't be real one day and illusory the next. Right? So what is it in both of these experiences, the experience of this pure clarity and the experience of just utter muddledness, what is the same in both of those? Are you not there experiencing and perceiving both? Now, does any of those experiences, whether it be this crystal clarity or just complete and total bewilderment, right, do either one of those last? Do they come and go? If they come and go, then they can't be the truth, can they? Even the clarity side. Of course, if we spend a lifetime in delusion and suddenly we have some awakening going on, we really want to hold on to it tight, right? Thinking that must be it. It's just a phase. It's just a stage along the way. What is it? Recognizing that which is changeless. That which is your capacity to experience, to recognize clarity as clarity. Right? The thoughts don't announce themselves. I'm clear thoughts. You recognize the clear-headedness of those thoughts. You also recognize what isn't that clear-headedness of that thought. Isn't that beyond all of it? Isn't that where the clarity actually resides? Isn't that which can recognize clarity and recognize the absence of it? Isn't it something transcendent? So thoughts and experiences and like going along in a nice, clear and fluid way, right, is an experience. It is a reflection of the inner clarity. But when it isn't, the recognition that it isn't is also a reflection of the inherent clarity, the inherent pristine perfection of the true mind, of the true self, of true consciousness. Recognize that the real journey is coming to see that which is perceiving the fluctuations, and not to get rid of the fluctuations or fix them or make it all on one side so it's all really good, all really rosy. Okay? And instead recognize that which is seeing. And you'll find that is never changing. And it is inherently clear. It is the clarity, that inherent, transcendent clarity that reveals this is clear-headedness, this is muddled-headedness. It is being seen from a place that knows, that truly knows. The spiritual journey is coming out of our desires to have one or the other and into the place that is pure perception, without preference, without a vested interest in one or the other. And that's the true self. That is God. That is the real you. Does that help? Does that help? I hope so. Mary, hello Mary, good to see you. Lisa, there's Robbie in Romania and Rosario, and hello David and Elaine. Carl in Ireland, Ava, Ursula, Lisa, oh my goodness, hello Alessandra. There's Roseanne, hello Roseanne, in Woodland Hills, California. Dorte in Denmark. Input. Hello, Greg is Dale. Somebody who calls me Greg. It is my name. Is everybody naturally sensitive, or are some more than others? I'm naturally quite emotional and sensitive. Is this an attribute to me, or is this the nature of consciousness? Thank you. Well, if you look at children, they're all naturally sensitive, in that they have the pure experience of the moment, right? Which is what that means. It means they're experiencing every moment in its purity. It's not buffered, it's not filtered, it's not being processed through layers of belief as of yet. So it's pure experience. That's sensitivity. The feeling of things as it actually is, feeling the fullness of human life, which children do. Right? But because of pain and trauma and experiences we have, and ways in which we're treated, and the ways which we're allowed to express ourselves, and the way we're not, that sensitivity becomes dulled. And with the advent of the mind and conceptualization, when we start conceiving things rather than feeling things directly, that sensitivity gets kind of compressed. And so we experience not the direct experience that children do, but the indirect experience, which is our conception of things. We don't experience love, we experience our beliefs about love. We don't experience friendship or pleasure or fun. We have ideas about fun. And it gets so extreme that people don't have any fun. They can't even laugh, because it has to be processed. It has to be processed through the mind. So everyone is emotional and sensitive. Hanging out with my my granddaughters, one's 5, the other's 6 months old. Oh my God, it's just pure emotion. It's pure emotion, right? I'm just beginning to see in my 5.5-year-old granddaughter the kind of reasoning that is going to be the adult mind. It's just beginning to start at this point, but it's still just emotion all over the place. So it is an attribute. You say, is it an attribute of me, or is it the nature of consciousness? Well, you are consciousness, so it is an attribute of consciousness. Consciousness is the full range, the full potential of all experience. What is experienced in any given moment is determined by perception. And our perceptions get formed by our various experiences in our lives, get limited and compressed by the various experiences in our lives. The purpose of the spiritual journey is to go back to that place of the pure, unfiltered experiencing, removing all of the layers of conception and perception and trauma and the like that had contained your experience, to get back to the pure attributes. But remember, this is not an empathic kind of emotional sensitivity. It's not the kind of thing that is overwhelming. It is simply consciousness, aware of things as they are. Not just aware conceptually of things as they are, but the feeling of things, the sense of things, the taste, the touch, the smell of things. Because consciousness is all of that. Right? Consciousness just isn't thinking, it isn't just thoughts. Right? It's emotions. It's every dimension of feeling that there is, of which thought is simply one aspect of what is experienced. And that which is beyond thought, that which is sensed, or we call the sixth sense, right? That is also an aspect of consciousness. These are all aspects of consciousness. Emotion is simply an aspect of consciousness. It's felt, so is sensation. They are all consciousness. Right? They are not something consciousness actually experiences. It's always experiencing itself. You are always experiencing your own nature. Right? And so, if you happen to be more aware of your emotional sensitivity, don't turn that into a penalty, that you're too emotional or you're too sensitive, you're too easily hurt. Don't turn it into a penalty like that. But at the same time, also be appreciative of the fact that that particular aspect of you has not been so cut off. For a lot of people it has. A lot of people have lost the capacity for empathy. This is very characteristic these days because we're under so much stress and so much pressure that people are just kind of cutting themselves off. I mean, it's interesting during the whole COVID, at the peak of the COVID thing, I found people that were just completely withdrawn, right? Pushing everything away, hoarding, toilet paper and stuff, and others who were just giving and giving and giving and gave more. Oh, I've got here, you take it. I've got some, here, you take it. You don't have enough? Here, let's share. I saw both extremes happening. Right? So recognize that it's another aspect of consciousness, which is you, another aspect of yourself, and don't give it too much weight and don't give it too little weight. Right? It's always the flow between wisdom, which is precise and accurate and piercing. It is the sword of truth. And compassion, which is open and allowing and accepting and totally embracing of everything as it is. It is always the flow between these, between wisdom and love, wisdom and love, wisdom and love. And you never stop at any one of those points and buy real estate. You're forever in the flow. You are water. Does that help? And put Dale. Hi. Hey, Roberta. Oh, you continued. I'm guessing the nature of consciousness. Some people may just be less sensitive, but I tend to feel they are conditioned to be that way with culture, parenting. Thanks for answering, dude. Yes, and that's it. Yes, and that was the answer. You anticipated the answer perfectly. Yeah, it's just conditioned out of us. And it's easy to tell, just look at a child and how easily and spontaneously they emote with no editing and no self-consciousness about it. They just do it. Facebook user, beloved teacher. Hey, Jonas. You're on Facebook today. Good to have you. Hello, Marty in Vancouver. Peter in Italy. It's wonderful to have this time to share with you, GP. I feel blessed for having the opportunity to receive your presence while just being here. Soft, deep gratitude. Beautiful. It is presence. It is the presence. It is not my presence. You don't feel my presence. We're simply creating an atmosphere where you can feel presence, right? That which is. And it is universal, and it is pervasive, and it is everywhere. It defines everywhere. I mean, it's beyond everywhere because it's beyond all dimensions. It's not in space or time. It's not even an it. It is being itself. This is, of course, where the confusion about God is. We say, I'm one with God. If you think of God as a person, which we do because we think of ourselves as a person, being one with God is the ultimate blasphemy. But God isn't a person. God is infinite being. It is being itself. Therefore, everything that has existence, however momentary, is God. Because it is being. It is God known. It is being recognized as being. But who's recognizing being other than being? Who is aware other than awareness? So you see, you are that being that recognizes being. That which is not cannot recognize being. Only that which is can recognize being. And you are. And you recognize being. Therefore, you are that God. Something else that, see if I can find it here really quick. It was up here? No, it was down here next to the picture. Balyani says, that is why the person who has reached the essential truth is allowed to say, I am the truth. Glory to me. No one has truly reached God unless they see their attributes to be the attributes of God and their essence to be the essence of God, without their essence or their attributes ever entering into God or coming out of Him, and without their passing away in relation to God or remaining in God. They see that their self has never been their own, not that it was and then it passed away. That is because there is no self except His self. And there is no being except His being. 800 years ago, that was written. Hello, Merck and Daryl. Carl. Hi, GP. Is identifying with your original innocence the same as being the observer? As a child, that innocence felt more freeing and joyful. Being the observer feels like merging with an expansive neutral void. This experience makes me feel lost sometimes rather than joyful or satisfying. Am I doing being wrong? No, you're not doing. You can't be wrong. It's not possible. There's simply identifying with the original innocence. You recognize that it's there, okay? That recognition opens an inner door. I'm trying to identify with it. Right? Notice that you have on a subtle level created a two. An I that's trying to identify with original innocence. The I is original innocence. It is not two. The I, there's an I that is aware of a sense of I trying to identify itself with that original being. And that I that's trying to identify with that original being is feeling it as a void, like there's nothing there, right? And of course, that's how the mind would see it. That's how a limited sense of I would see it. Because the limited sense of I, or the mind, is looking for some kind of a form. It's looking for some kind of entity. And this entity is not a form. Now notice that that I is a set of attributes that is clearly perceivable by something else. What is that something else? Pull yourself back, right, out of the fray of this I that's trying to free itself, trying to feel more childlike and innocent. Okay? Pull back and just watch that as a dynamic going on in consciousness. And now experience the consciousness in which it is happening. And yes, it is empty. The mind will call it a void, but what it really means it is the essence prior to any attributes that arise out of that essence. If the essence has any attributes whatsoever, it becomes limited. Right? As I said, this flower is a set of attributes. The person is a set of attributes. It is a set of attributes, and we give a name to that set of attributes. And then we think that that name is somebody, and that these attributes are attributes of that somebody. But where's the somebody? Take away the attributes, and where's the person? They don't exist. It is nothing but a bunch of attributes which we have projected a sense of self on. Well, where is the sense of self coming from that is projected on it? That's real. It is the real self, but it has no attributes. It is defined by no attributes. It is the essence of which all attributes are its attributes. The attribute of everyone you meet, that which makes up every person you know, are all simply attributes, not of the person, but of the self. That which is not a person, which is not a self in the sense of being a defined entity. It is the infinite being itself. This is God. So, in the practice of identification, notice that there's always the tendency of the mind to make two, to make me and something I am trying to identify with. You are dropping identification with all form and all concepts, even identification with original innocence, which is simply a pointer back to that state that existed before conditioning occurred. The pure state of just pure experiential being, pure undifferentiated consciousness. It's just a word to point to that. To truly be identified with that is to see that that undifferentiated consciousness is what I am right now, and the I that is searching for that is also being perceived by that. You are what you are looking at. That true I removes this false I and is revealed as the I. We're going pretty deep today. I hope I'm not losing anybody. If I am, please let me know. I don't mind taking a couple of steps back. Although I'm just kind of in that space today. Having a hard time touching the ground. Mary, why does it seem like I can love someone more than I love myself? The only thing I can come to is that I may be loving something in him that I have not quite seen in myself. Yes, that's That's true, and it really is just a belief, right? Just by loving yourself is loving others. Loving your others is loving ourselves. The qualities we see in them that make us love them are in us. If they weren't in us, we could not see them in the other. The qualities that you admire in someone are only visible to you because they are in you and seeing themselves reflected. You can see them in others, but because of conditioning and the various kinds of things that happen, we cannot acknowledge them in ourselves. We can see somebody who is really kind and generous and smart and witty and all of that. We go, I wish I was that, right? So that very qualities we have rejected in ourselves. And because of that rejection, we have projected them on others. We only project them on the others because we have disowned it in ourselves. It's really kind of the positive side of what we would normally, if we're judging somebody else, some quality in ourself that we reject, we try to reject it in somebody else. Sometimes we reject a quality and then we admire it in somebody else. And we think they have it and I don't. That thought needs to be scrutinized and challenged. Can you recognize anything in anyone else that does not exist in you, is not within your capacity to recognize? Can falsity see the truth? It can't. Can hate see love? It can't. Can stupidity see intelligence, or ignorance see wisdom? It can't. For whatever you see, as hard as it may feel for you to accept for yourself, are qualities that you yourself have, but you have simply disowned them and projected them elsewhere. They are you. Those qualities, those attributes, are the attributes of the self. Every good quality is the attribute of the self. Now, recognize that you are that self. You are not someone that has kind of the attributes of the true self of God and a lot of other bad attributes. That is a concept. That's not you. You are the self. All attributes belong to you. They are all the reflection of you. They are all the emanation of you. Like the perfume of a rose is the rose. This is the perfume of being, but when you look for the flower from which the perfume is arising, you cannot find it. Because it is being itself. All qualities of everything are the qualities of existence itself, and you are that. So you can simply start from the premise that if I see it in someone else, it is mine as well. That's how I see it. Otherwise I would be blind to it. We've all had that experience of having some insight into ourselves, and suddenly you see it everywhere, right? You buy the the red Ford Mustang, and now you see red Ford Mustangs everywhere. Right? It's the same phenomenon. Because it is you. It is all you. Everything you perceive is you. But we have learned to reject those qualities and to project them outward. We have disassociated ourselves from the universe, which is our very body, our embodiment, the entire universe. Does that help, Mary? Nina, hello Nina. Hello David, wonderful introduction, G. So beautifully expressed. Thank you guys. Sam Matt. I think you might be new. I don't recognize the name. Could our present experience be different if we had been more careful with our choices in the past? Well, on one level, yeah, obviously. But on another level, we have learned to reject those qualities and to project them outward. We have disassociated ourselves from the universe, which is our very body, our embodiment, the entire universe. Does that help, Mary? Nina, hello Nina. Hello David, wonderful introduction, G. So beautifully expressed. Thank you. You guys. Sam Matt. I think you might be new. I don't recognize the name. Could our present experience be different if we had been more careful with our choices in the past? And I don't mean to make that flippant. Yeah, obviously, duh. I mean, yes, the course we take every time we make a choice and head in a direction, right? All the possibilities collapse into that direction, right? And now it's like I'm walking that direction, and at that point the world's going to look different. And the moment I step into that direction, the possible choices, the availability of possible choices is now defined by that direction, and other choices don't exist anymore. Now it's just this, and it's just a series of one choice after another. Now, how are those choices being made? That's the thing to be examining. That's what's to be looked at. How are those choices being made? Yes, obviously, if I made different choices, my life would be in a different place. So now I can beat myself up for making bad choices, or I can inquire, well, why did I make that choice? And you'll notice that every choice you make is always a choice that simply assumes that this is going to make my life happier. It's going to make it more prosperous, more full, more rich, more free. Every choice. But of course, because our perceptions are limited, we can only see so much at once. We cannot ever possibly see all the permutations that choice is going to make. And so we make that choice, and we suddenly get things very different than what we had thought was going to happen, and then we say, I made a mistake. Well, did you? Because you couldn't possibly have seen that result until that step was taken. And so now we recognize that this realm of what's choosing and what's not choosing is far more feeble, far more flighty than we realized. You know, people like you're going to make concrete choices, but those choices are always in line with some kind of criteria. You accept the criteria, your choices will be in line with that criteria. If I accept a particular religious view, all of my choices will be in line with that religious view until I question it and I take on a different view. So what's informing the choices? And that's why the whole spiritual self-inquiry becomes so important, because ultimately what's informing all of your choices is the sense of who I am. I will never do something, I will never make a choice that is inconsistent with who I believe myself to be. If I'm a Christian, I will never make a decision. I would never choose something that a Buddhist would choose. I'd never worship anything. I'd never do a prayer wheel, right? So I am a Christian. So boom, there's my choices. So who I believe myself to be is what's going to be determining the choices. So let's cut right to the chase. Let's go to the heart of it. Who do I believe myself to be? That is what this whole thing is about. This is what I've been talking about the entire time here, right? And notice that with that sense of identity in place, right? It was Alvin Toffler in his famous book Future Shock, who talked about the sense of identity as being the super product. It's what allows us to narrow the range of choices. Right? You know, you walk into a shoe store, and you have there's 500 pairs of shoes to choose from, but you don't have to sort through all 500 pairs. You don't try 500 pairs, right? Right? Sam, you're probably a guy, but it could be a girl. So if you're a guy, you go into a shoe store, you may buy 2, maybe 3, right? If you're a woman, 5, 10, right? More, but not all 500. Nobody does all 500. Why? Because there's a pre-existing sense of identity that has already narrowed the field. I'm not interested in any of these. Now, if that sense of identity was different, suddenly, those platform shoes would start looking really cool, right? Rather than the Oxfords. The Oxfords would look, oh, God, that's not me. We even say that, putting on clothes, it's not me, right? completely unaware of what we're actually saying. So there's a pre-existing idea, there's a pre-existing a set of assumptions that are making the choices. You've already agreed to the choices in advance. And if you know that sense of identity, when knowing someone's sense of identity, you can predict everything they're going to do until that sense of identity changes. Okay? So it ends up being not somebody making a choice, but a choosing thought arises that is consistent with the fundamental assumption of who am I. The fundamental sense of identity. And it is just producing the choosing thought. You're not even choosing it. So the only way to be truly free is to scrutinize that sense of identity and find yourself as you actually are. Find the real you. Then all identities are available to you. Believe me, you still won't walk into a shoe store and have to sort out 500 pairs of shoes. But you will no longer, this particular person that chooses this over that, you will no longer be stuck in that. You allow yourself to look at that pair of shoes that you didn't look at before, that color you never wore before, and just see, how does that feel right now? Not, that's not me, but could this be me? Could this be me as well? It's a very different way of being. It isn't that suddenly you're like, you have infinite possibilities and you get frozen. You can't make any choices. That's what schizophrenia is. It's just a sense of not being stuck anywhere. So when you recognize that, you have a freedom for other choices. Right? But also recognizing that all the choices that had been made to this point were unconscious. and inevitable that you would have ended up. And don't beat yourself up for what you didn't know, because you didn't know it until it was done. In that sense, you didn't make a mistake. A mistake is a relative thing. I thought I was going to end up here, I ended up over here. I call that a mistake, right? And in this narrow of a term it is, but ultimately it won't be. How many times have you made a choice, looked like it was a mistake, and 5 or 6 steps down the line, suddenly it ended up better than what you thought? Was it a mistake? Didn't you have to go through all those steps to get there? Right. So, in order to experience more than just a different or better life, but to experience the fullness of life, you must know yourself as the fullness of life. And let this moment decide this moment. Let the Tao run its course. Let the water flow around or direct. Let it swirl or just let it glide. It will no longer need to be a person making choices, but you'll find that the choices simply happen spontaneously out of the nature of life itself, which means they're not a choice, any more than the river chooses to flow to the ocean. It is simply the flow of the Tao, and you are the Tao witnessing the flow of yourself. Like I said, I just can't seem to come down from there right now, folks, so hopefully I'm not losing anybody. Hopefully it helps. Sam? Dale, thank you for your response. Man, funny. You mentioned I'm going through level 2 now and aware of the yin-yang of wisdom and allowing. I'm full of questions today. How do you think scientists and science in general to be as destructive as religions? Is very dogmatic. Your thoughts? Delusional? There's nothing just inherently destructive in religion or in science. The destructiveness is when the ideology becomes more important than the truth, when I'm clinging to it. Now, the strict materialist clings to the absolute assumption in science that everything is a product of matter. That consciousness itself is simply a complex accident that happened as a result of the emerging properties of the complexity of matter. The assumption that everything is matter, right, and that there is no self, there is no mind, there is no consciousness, there is no nothing. But of course, the mystery of consciousness, self-awareness, simply doesn't compute. And many scientists get that. It's a mystery in science. How consciousness came to be is a mystery. The strict materialist says, it's some kind of product of matter, we don't know what it is, but there's some little structure in the brain that must be consciousness. But you start breaking it down. Is it a consciousness molecule, an atom, a quantum, a field, right? And there's numerous scientists who are going, it's not that simple. And many are even saying consciousness is actually primary. That consciousness gave rise to matter, not the other way around. And that is a growing movement. So science as the quest for truth, and religion as the quest for truth, to be embodied in some way, philosophy as the quest for truth, it's all the same. And as long as it remains the quest for truth and does not become dogmatic, that the assumptions become, we understand it, this is the way it is, and that's, like some evangelical, as long as it doesn't become that, it doesn't become destructive. It becomes the quest for truth until it is finally answered on truth. It is finally answered by truth until you discover yourself to be the truth. Right? Prior to that, yes, when the ego gets involved, it becomes destructive. It becomes turned to a different purpose. It is no longer about the discovery of truth. It is about the propping up and justification of the egoic mind, of the false sense of self. So, there's the short answer to your question. Vernon Hawkins, hello friend, hello to you. Francis King, good to see you. Talks on spirituality and life. Hi GP, would you agree that infinite consciousness is more than a verb, than a noun, and that there is no distinction between infinite consciousness and its activity? Thanks, you're awesome. Yes, you're absolutely correct. There is no distinction. Right? There is no distinction, any more than there's a distinction between the sky and a cloud. Right? The cloud is the activity of the sky. Right? The sky is the moisture, the temperature, the air, the wind, the all of that together, right? And in this little patch of the sky, all around it, there's this activity, there's this moisture. This little patch, the temperature drops a notch or two, hits the dew point, and suddenly a cloud appears. Right? Now, is that cloud born? Does it exist prior to that? It's simply an appearance of the sky. How do you separate it from the sky? You can't. Consciousness and the universe cannot be separated. Consciousness, when we speak of it in non-duality, when we speak of pure awareness, the absolute awareness, we're speaking of the essence. And the only reason we do that is to come to understand consciousness not as something that is defined by attributes, like anything else. The flower is defined by attributes. Take away all these attributes, you have no flower. Right? So consciousness is not defined by attributes, but consciousness, its activity as consciousness, is the constant generating of attributes. And therefore the universe and consciousness are one. Constantly generated. The universe is not a thing that was created in a moment of time. It is simply consciousness manifesting itself right here and right now. It does not exist separate from it. This is the understanding of oneness. They are not two. That which the attributes that arise from consciousness are consciousness and could not exist without consciousness. But consciousness is not confined to them, any more than music is confined to one particular song. Yet every song, in every song, is the totality of music. Right? This is the great mystery. This is the veil of God, which Balyani, in that same article, referred to God's veil, that which hides God from us. His veil is his oneness, his singularity. This oneness is what veils, because we keep looking for two. We keep thinking there's God and a universe. And of course, all of Western religion, to me, what defines Western culture is this idea of God as creator and creation as being something other than. Whereas in the East is defined by God is immanent. God and creation are one and the same. It is not creator and creation. It is simply being. I am. And the I am is the motif. The flower says, I am, does it not? It is. And so it is the I am. Oh, all I could do is keep pointing at it. It is one. It is one. There are not two. This goes beyond the mind because the mind cannot conceive it. Conception by definition requires two. Words require two. Noun and verb, subject and object. And so they eventually fall away. But when we were doing that little meditation in the beginning, that opening thing, or that exercise, right? Was it two? When you're simply experiencing your own being, is there a you experiencing being as something other than you? Or was that the absolute unity? Non-phenomenal recognition. It was the recognition of the self. It was the self perceiving the self as the self, and not as an other. And so, yes, consciousness and its activity are not two. And I love that. Even the word one can make us confused. They're not two. It is even beyond oneness. Because even oneness is a word that would have... To one, there's no such thing as one. There's no such thing as all. I am. Thank you, Francis. David and Elaine, with a lucid dream, the dream continues but is now recognized as a dream. With an awakening, the illusion of the person or separate self is seen through, but the sense of a person or character, you're down here, still appear to remain. So is it accurate to say that this sense of a person inevitably disappears after awakening, or can also persist while it's still being seen for what it is? Absolutely can persist, yes. Matter of fact, in the Ribhu Gita, it refers to that is the jiva, the jiva mukti, the awakened being that is still functioning, still aware of a body and a world, and is still functioning within it. But now the body is no longer seen as me in a body, but a body within me. It is simply the mode of behavior of consciousness, and I am that consciousness. I am not the body, right? And yet the sense of a body is there, but even the body doesn't exist anymore, not as an entity. There's no body here, right? There's only consciousness. And yet I am still functioning within this quote-unquote world, right? Oh, the realm of the one, the realm of oneness. It is so subtle, so pristine, so impossible to put into words, utterly impossible. So I spend every day of my life getting up knowing I am going to fail miserably at what I am going to attempt today. I am doomed to failure. And they just sink into the quiet of pure presence. Your presence. But even when I say your presence, we tend to think of presence as something that is mine. This sense of I, so subtle. The separate sense of I. What would be present other than presence itself? Isn't that the I? Keep going back to this because I keep being over the head. But the lucid dream is a perfect example of it. I know I'm dreaming, right? That none of this is real. That is, none of it is objective. It is real in the sense that it's a real experience that I am having. Right? Clearly, I see this, I see that. But it is not real in the sense that it is something that exists separate from me. It does not exist outside of consciousness. No thought you have exists outside of consciousness. No sensation, no emotion. Be it dream, be it a true thought or a false thought, or a total delusion or total insight. They all happen. They cannot exist separate from consciousness. So they are consciousness. That is what they're made of. They don't exist somewhere outside, and then they hop into consciousness when they hear the cue and it's time to give their line. They are consciousness self-modulating, self-configuring. And now it appears as thought. Now it appears as emotion. Now it appears as solid, as sensation. Now it appears as something. Now it appears as insight. Now it appears as delusion. It is the self-modulation of consciousness, all, from beginning to end. Everybody take a deep breath. I'm not feeling particularly 100% today, so if you will allow me, I am going to take a brief break here, refresh my water, and do a couple things. Alrighty, I am back. Thank you all for hanging out with me and remaining. My digestive system is a little overzealous today, so I needed to take a slight break. Okay, Mary Sykes. Yes, my Ayurvedic practitioner has passed on, and he embodied kindness so beautifully, and I find it hard to see that in myself. Thank you for such a great satsang. You're very welcome. Yes, I find it hard to see it in myself, but just because I find something hard to see doesn't mean it isn't there. My job is to show you how to look for it so that you do see it, because we possess all qualities. The beauty and kindness of your Ayurvedic practitioner, right? All those qualities are yours as well. They won't come out in the same way, because the essential quality of love, there's just an infinite variety. There's just an infinite number of ways in which it can manifest itself, but it's all love, right? So it is love. Love manifest, love in essence. And love, or music, right? The music and the song, all of those have at their essence everything of which, truth and love and intelligence and creativity, all of these things that manifest in just countless ways, they themselves are an aspect, right? Just to call something creativity gives it an attribute, which means it is an attribute of something else. They're all attributes of being. And one aspect, one attribute of being is love, wisdom, compassion, tenderness. And so you, that is what you know of as you, is actually a unique embodiment of all those qualities. The qualities we look at in essence of love. Well, you are what you call yourself. Your human life is nothing other than all of those attributes. And of whom are they attributes? Not of Mary. Mary is just an idea, a thought, a concept, projected upon a bundle of attributes. And that concept, though, is limited. So it says, these attributes are mine, these aren't mine, he's got those. And that's just the perception, seeing things through the eyes of the limitation that has been associated with Mary. So let go of Mary. You're not Mary. You are the self dreaming herself to be Mary. And when you wake up, does Mary wake up? Does Mary even participate in the awakening? The guy in the dream doesn't wake up. Lovely, lovely. Oh, I'm glad you're enjoying the satsang, Mary. Sometimes I just can't come down here. I've got to keep it at the level of the pure absolute, which I just assume means that this is where you all are at this moment, and this is where we need to be. Diane, I love what you're teaching, GP. Conditioning comes and goes, a deep peace remains. I love, but don't know what I love. Yes. Yes. So you are love. You just love. Because you can't do anything else. There's not even an I that is loving. Love is simply the perfume of your being. You are love itself and more. And that which gives rise even to the possibility of love. You are the self. You are God. You are the truth. Facebook user Sab Ek. Okay. Thank you. David, the true meaning of satsang is clearly being expressed today. Deep thanks. Oh, you're very welcome. Roseanne, is there free will? Thank you for all your satsangs. I can't put into words how much they have helped me see the truth. Today especially, I can feel the presence you talk about. Love you. Love you too. Is there such a thing as free will? Ultimately, no. But I'm slow to just kind of put it out there like an absolute like that, because it has to be understood. When the sense of a separate self, or the egoic mind, hears there's no such thing as free will, it gets very confused. What about my choices? What you mean everything is it's either everything it's free will, or everything is predetermined, right? Like I'm a puppet, right? And it is neither of those extremes. Look at it very simply. Right? It goes through stages. When you're a child, you have no free will, right? A baby, none. You're picked up, you're carried wherever you go, you have no choice about anything, right? As you get a little bit older, you begin to have choices and things, but notice that those choices are very small, they're very constricted. They're within a very small thing that I appear to be making choices. Now, of course, when I am really unconscious, when I'm simply acting out my conditioning and my reactive patterns, I'm not really making choices. Right? My mind is simply functioning the way it was designed to function, or conditioned to function, and therefore I'm making the choices, quote unquote, that were predetermined for me to make according to the way I was conditioned and educated and enculturated and the like. So you can't say that that's free will. Even though it feels as if I am making a choice, I am unaware of the underlying structures and forces that are driving what appear on the surface as me making a choice. And so the choosing thought, we're going to do this, I'm going to do this, and then two thoughts later is, I chose that. Well, you didn't. It wasn't conscious. Right? Now, when awakening begins to happen, and we begin to see that this is what's happening, that it is conditioning, right? A space begins to open up where you see, I wasn't making any choices. But even in that space now, we're going, well, can I make a choice now? And you realize there's this kind of void there. The choices are now going to be influenced by what you want to be, or what you like, what you want to attract in your life, and all that kind of stuff. And you find that even there, the choices are being driven by something much more subtle and underneath, and almost an invisible influence on them, that there's not free will there yet. Then what happens? You get to the point where you really are beginning to see, and you really can choose, but there's something else here now. Your choices are being driven by your perception of what is true and what isn't. You're choosing the most loving, right? But you didn't choose it to be the most loving. You're choosing that path because it is the most loving, and now you realize that you're not choosing that either. That your vision as to what is true, loving, the best, the most valuable, the most precious, the most creative, is informing those choices, and nobody in their right mind would knowingly choose something the opposite of what you can see is the best and the most valuable. So while it appears as if there is free will at every stage along the way, you realize that there isn't. That it's simply the unfolding of life. The Tao is flowing the way the Tao flows. And it isn't a matter of choice, it's a matter of your nature. And you're discovering your nature. And in the discovery of your own nature, the false sense of I disappears, and you simply are that nature. You are the Tao, you are the self, and you are simply experiencing yourself as you are, and you didn't choose the way at your nature as you are. It is the eternal truth. And so you are the eternal truth. And so it appears as though there's a free will only so long as there's a sense of a separate self. And then you recognize that that separate self believed that it had free will, but never did, because it was all completely driven by unconscious patterns. And that the true self, once it sees that, also doesn't have free will, because it's not choosing anything. It is simply expressing its infinite nature. Does that answer it for you, Roseanne? I don't know why I'm laughing at that. It just seems very funny. Hey, hey, my chic. Hey, Faith, and my spiritual tribe. I'm always pondering and meditating in my way. I had this idea, maybe an insight, that now I am in a very special place between separation and union, between partying for God inside and summing the goddess inside, between being the doer and the perceiving. What practice do you recommend for me, Baba GP? I love you. Oh, I love you too. Yes. Notice that this is always our experience. It is always the doer and the perceiving of what is done. And eventually the doer disappears into the perceiving, and you see the perceiving and the doing are one and the same. They are not separate. So the practice is to bring all of this together, the being, the doing, the perceiving, so that they become one. They don't become three different aspects, but they're literally one thing. And the God inside and the goddess inside, right? That merging, that flow of masculine and feminine qualities. Obviously, in the female body, the feminine qualities are more obvious. In the male body, the masculine qualities are simply more being expressed. Those attributes are more pronounced. Just like, this attribute of the white is more pronounced than this, but all the potential is there for all flowers, right? And so that it's more pronounced. So, but that doesn't. The fact that you're in a female body does not cut you off from aspect for the aspects that it's not really even aspects. I mean, we associate the masculine and the feminine with strength or wisdom and compassion in life, and those are just handy archetypes. They are neither masculine nor feminine. They simply will be expressed in a way that's predominantly masculine or predominantly feminine, depending on the circumstances. And it doesn't require one body type or another in order for that to be there. The nurturing hand does not require any gender-specific being to be touching with the nurturing hand. Right? So let me get back to the. So yes, between separation and union, and this is a very important place, right? In the practice, in the spiritual sadhana, right? Because the inward path is the not this, not that. I am not my body, right? There's a there's a separation taking place. The separation isn't really a separation in the sense that I'm nothing. It is the I that has been identified with form is coming out of form to see itself without reference to anything other than itself, and thus all limitations and boundaries fall away. When that happens, we find that all the boundaries, with the boundaries gone, everything is myself. But now it is not a personal I identified as a form interacting with a bunch of other forms. It is the infinite I seeing all things as my forms, as the manifestation of myself, that it is the self, the motif of the self played in the symphony that is the universe, that is eternal, and is unstopping, and did not have a beginning and does not have an end, but is simply this moment constantly refreshing itself, like the screen on your computer constantly refreshing itself 60 times a second. this is infinitely faster than that. And so, your practice, dear lady, is to simply let yourself be in that flow as it goes back and forth without identifying at any point, until you realize you are the flow, and there'll be no more stuckness. And with no more stuckness, there is no suffering. There is no concrete sense of identity. Identity can come and go. The qualities can come and go. The attributes can come and go. But that of which they are attributes, never comes and goes. It is the constant, consistent, continual background that is even beyond continuity. It doesn't continue. It isn't an it at all. Does that help, Faith? Francis says, thanks, I'm getting there. Indeed you are. Dale says, thanks, you're welcome. B.S., I'm laughing my ass off. I am this. Thank you. You're very welcome. Very welcome. B.S. I'm getting compliments from B.S. I like it. Brother G, is there a final seeing, or is that just a thought? It's a yes and no. One could see Buddhahood as a final seeing, but don't get wrapped up in it, because at this point it is just a thought. It's the mind trying to imagine what the ultimate, the ultimate extinction, the ultimate nirvana is. So don't get caught up into it. Don't give it a label. The final seeing is the seeing that's happening right now. Right? Notice that you're seeing yourself as a seeker heading towards a final seeing. The final seeing is when you realize that you're watching the seeker seek. That the seeker and the seeking are being watched by what is sought. That's the final seeing. Right? When it all converges back into this moment, this self, right here, right now. So there is no point of final seeing. Right? There is only the final seeing. That this seeing right now, beholding the world, the universe as it is, and all the delusions about it as it is the final seeing, the ultimate seeing, the only seeing, the alpha and omega, the first and the last. the ultimate and the primary. I can't stop laughing. Good. 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 Ava, love these satsangs when you're going so deeply into the truth. Waiting for the workshop based on Balyani. Yes. I'm just poring over that work right now. To see where it's going to lead. Input. Dale, so the practice is to detach from the mind and all its activities and stories. The mind is very powerful and loves to pull you back in. Our job is to watch the beliefs and just be aware of them. I do this daily, but the mind still persists. I don't see the mind as an enemy, but I am constantly being aware of how much it identifies with form and the labels. What can I do to go to the next level? Well, what is mind? Okay. Notice you've made the mind is very powerful. What is mind? Mind is an illusion. How about that? The mind does not exist. It is not an entity that has power, that can deceive, that can influence. Just like flower is the name for a group of attributes, mind is the name for the group of thoughts. It's just a bunch of thoughts. A thought being, the mind is powerful. Well, what is the mind that is powerful? There's no mind. There's only a thought. So mind is a thought. What are thoughts? As it says in the Ribhu Gita, thoughts are nothing but ripples in the limitless ocean of the self. a thought is the self-modulation of consciousness and not an entity, then we imagine, we make a word to abstract, to simplify, to generalize this flow of thoughts, and we call it mind. And then the moment it becomes an abstraction, it is believed to be an entity in and of itself. We say, I can't stop my mind. My mind just keeps, my mind keeps making these thoughts. There's no mind making the thoughts. The mind without the thoughts does not exist. It is simply itself a thought about thoughts. It's so subtle. So, you've made the mind, you said, I don't make the mind an enemy, but you did. The moment you made it something other than yourself, you have created the conflict. It is nothing but consciousness in motion. That's all it is. And it just happens to have this particular form. The mind loves to pull you back in. How can the mind pull the infinite back in? It is in the infinite. What the mind pulls back in, right, or that is the set of thoughts that say, I'm pulling you back in, what it's pulling in is the thought I, and now it's a thought about pulling an I in. There's no I, there's no pulling, there's no place being pulled to. They're nothing but thoughts, illusions. Projected on what? Projected on the self. The mind is a misconception or an illusion of the self. You see a mirage in the desert. You see the oasis, right? You're out in the desert. Oh, there it is, the oasis. There's a pond and there's people in swimming suits and they're sipping Mai Tais. And you start walking towards it, but it just keeps staying exactly the same distance away. Now, the heat is there. The thirst is there. The beating down of the sun is there. The heat, the body, the heat rising from the sand. They're all there. The mirage is not. It's a projection. Now, it is everything you are experiencing is there. The thoughts are there. But the mind is not. It is the mirage. It is being projected. You often hear me say a projection of the mind. That's this level. Do you want a next level of it? Come up to this level. It is not the mind projecting. The act of projecting selfhood onto something that is within you, turning it into something that is outside of you, is mind. That is the activity we call mind. It is all yourself. It is the snake in the rope. The rope is there. The snake does not exist. You are there. The mind does not exist. Thought does not exist. Because even a thought, the thought of thought, creates an entity where there isn't one. It is all you. There is nothing but you. And so you say the mind still persists. From the point of view of practice, how can you get rid of you? You say the mind still persists. Well, thoughts, these kinds of thoughts. I'm being pulled back in. I'm forgetting who I am. I'm identifying with labels, form and labels. Right? They are persisting. Right? But are they an entity you have to get rid of? Or are they simply an aspect of yourself that you need to absorb back into yourself? If they are me, who cares? Am I concerned about my hand? No. I mean, it's me, right? I don't give it a second thought. But because there's an identification with the I, and you're watching now this I getting all absorbed and pulled into thoughts, and then there's all this, spiritual and non-dual thoughts hanging around to explain what's happening. You're taking that as if it were you, rather than just a picture in you, right, that is made of you. Right? The picture of you does not have to be the pure, beautiful, heavenly angel kind of picture. It can be really stupid, moronic. I fell on my bike the other day. Wham, bruised a rib. Stupid, moronic. And it really hurt. It still actually hurts. It takes a while for those things to go away. Are you following this? I'm going right for the jugular here. I'm taking a right to the essence. Just disengage with wanting the mind to be anything other than what it is. That is, wanting the thought patterns to be anything other than what they are. Because if you want them to be something other than they are, you've turned them into an entity and you have created a conflict where there isn't one. Oh, this is just myself. And this is the thought patterns that are appearing now. They are ripples, evanescent ripples on the infinite ocean of the self, of the absolute Brahman self. All is Brahman. All is the self. There is nothing other than the self. Notice how easy it is for us to try to create an other. There is no other. It is all you. Hallelujah, says Heidi Catherine. Amen. Amen. Francis King, there is a range of possible choices limited by conditioning. Yes. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Right? There's an infinite number of potentialities, right? That's the nature of the self. It is infinite in its scope, which means there's an infinite number of possibilities. Everything that possibly can happen. But it can't happen all at once, or it would be unseen. So it unfolds. And that unfoldment we call time. Time doesn't exist either. It is an attribute of the unfoldment, right? And so in any given moment, right? Conditioning limits possibilities to a self, to a false self, to an egoic mind. I am this, therefore, for this person, this is the range of possibilities. As that person begins to dissolve, so does the limit on possibilities, and now absolutely anything is possible. and what unfolds in any given moment will not be an act of will or choice or volition. It will be the Tao. It will be the explosive expression of the self. But self-expression of the self is not an act of will. It is simply the act of the nature of being itself. Very important distinction. Where'd you go? The other one? The mind is like a bad neighborhood. Dangerous to spend time. Yes. Except the mind doesn't exist. Right? The bad neighborhood is believing that there's a mind, that there's anything opposed to you. That there's any entity at all opposed to you. Roseanne, I'm wowed. Yes, that answered it. And I'm laughing with you. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you, says Sam. You're welcome, Sam. Sam Matt. I do believe you're new. Andrew, didn't J.K. used to say that time is thought? J. Krishnamurti? And is the difference between how things are and how things should be? Yes, time is thought. I don't know. He said it's. Oh, is the difference between. No, and is the difference between how things are and how things should be. Well, that doesn't sound like Krishnamurti, because as an enlightened being, he wouldn't be. He didn't say how things should be. In fact, asked once, "What is your secret?" He says, "I don't mind what happens." That's not somebody who has the idea that something should be anything other than what it is. Time is a thought. It's arbitrary. Right? It is an attribute. It arises with form, right? As does space. You can't measure space. Right? You can only measure the objects in space. Space itself is indefinable. The same is true of time. In fact, even Einstein says, without the object in space, space doesn't exist. He says space is expanding because the content of space is expanding, but outside of the content of space, space does not exist. Space is simply the relative measurement between two objects. Time is the relative measurement between two events. And as you see, that you cannot have one. You cannot have one without the other. And so, an unfoldment, something going through a constant change, right? That change appears in time, and time is simply looking at change through the lens of memory, or looking at change through the lens of the infinite eternal now. Everything happening in the now. Everything is known to the now. And therefore nothing exists at all. No thing ever comes into being. It is always the self-reconfiguration of the self that gives to the self the appearance of a universe. There is no universe, there is only the self. This is the oneness of it. Its oneness is, his oneness is his veil. The Absolute is veiled by its own oneness. There can be nothing in between the self and the self. There's nothing in between you and knowing who you are. There can't be. Because if there was, that would make another self. That would make another entity, another God. And thou shalt have no other gods before me, other than me, except me. And so he wouldn't have said that it's the difference between how things are and how they should be, because that would imply a future. And Krishnamurti was well aware of that the future was just a thought. Time was just a thought. Past, future, and present are just a thought. There is no presence other than you, other than this. Could there be present without you to recognize it? Would there be a present? Would there be a past or a future without you there to perceive? You are the presence that is the present, which is the infinite eternal now. It's what you are. It is you that perceives time. It doesn't perceive you. How's that, Andrew? Is that being helpful? Klesu, how does one, or what is the process of integration? The process of integration is the process by which we allow this insight, this revelation, I am the self to, of its, via its own power, which is what's called Shakti, to dissolve all thoughts, emotions, and sensations that are unlike itself and reconfigure the entire human structure in alignment with the primal insight of I am the self. That's what integration is. On a personal level, we experience that as a sense of self-awareness, recognizing a thought that is clearly based on the egoic mind. I recognize that thought. Well, who's the I that recognizes that thought? It's obviously not the ego that's recognizing. It can't. The ego can't smell its own breath. That which recognizes the ego as ego is not the ego. That's the awakening. That is the true knowledge of the self. In the beginning, we still think of me as a person who is awakening. And thus the integration becomes a participation in the process. You're participating, it appears, in the process of spotting the erroneous thinking, spotting the impulse, that reflex to identify with form, with sensation, emotion, and thought. You're catching yourself and consciously returning back to the disidentifying and coming back to that sense of self, because you've been informed now. But as that deepens, even the sense of somebody who is doing that begins to and you realize the entire process is happening in front of that which has always been awake. And this has been an entire dream. This has been Shiva's dream. And you don't even wake up. There is no you. There is only him. It is he who recognizes himself. Let me read another little bit from my friend Balyani here, back near the time. No one sees him except himself. No one reaches him except himself, and no one knows him except himself. He knows himself through himself, and he sees himself by means of himself. No one sees him but him. No other than he sees him. No sent prophet, perfect saint, or angel brought close knows him. His prophet is he. His messengers he. His message is he. And his word is he. He sent himself from himself, through himself, to himself. There is no intermediary or means other than him. There is no difference between the sender, that which is sent, and the one to whom it is sent. This very existence, the very existence of the prophetic message is his existence. You can't put it more direct than the Sufi mystic. Eventually you see that it has always been, there's never been a you. People say, you don't believe in God. I go, no, I don't believe in you. I don't believe in anything other than God. Right? Not even me. I disappear in him or her. You just use him because that was the convention. You just as easily say her, because it is neither. It's not even an it. So this is the skill. The skill is lending yourself to be willing to be vigilant. That would be the skill. I'm willing to be vigilant. I'm willing to scrutinize these thoughts. I'm willing to stop and watch my desires, watch my fears, watch my impulses, watch my behaviors, watch how I do things. I'm just being vigilant, not trying to, okay, I gotta fix this, but just watching, right? And letting letting your natural spiritual curiosity begin to sort things out, and let wisdom sort it out, right? Not as a strict discipline, not as this kind of hard process you have to go through, but it's just this playful curiosity. Where does that come from? It's very gentle, very easy. Carl, brilliant, thanks Greg, says Dale. Did I miss that? No. Carl, thank you GP. Your presence every week is giving me the courage to slowly but surely allow my conditioned self to dissolve with love. Ah, beautiful, beautiful. Because the conditioned self isn't a self. It is just conditioning. Right? You know, if the robot, we'll soon have robots that will be so lifelike we won't be able to tell, right? But they will not be sentient. There will not be anybody there, any more than there is Siri right now. They say, Siri, how do I get to? Oh, I'm sorry, I don't know. But there's no I there. There's no entity. There's no consciousness there. Conditioning is that. The human mechanism, the nervous system, is just a very complex and sophisticated organic robot. And there's no sentience in it whatsoever. You, which are the self, have simply projected your real selfhood upon that which does not have a self. And you call that the person. And so you say, oh, Bob is like this. No. Or who am I talking to? Carl. Carl is like this. No. Carl is not like that. This makes up what we call Carl. There is no Carl. It is only a bundle of attributes. That bundle of attributes is what we call conditioning. Just see it as such. That's all you have to do. And it will naturally dissolve. And the seeing of it, without anger, without concern. Matter of fact, in the most startling and beautiful realization is pure love. There's nothing but love for it. Right? Carl has disappeared. Carl has left the building. Thank you, my man. Andrew, I think J.K. was using the how things should be in terms of an individual's own experience of time. Ah, yes. I'm pretty sure he did Book of Life. Yes, I see, yes. That time was that sense we have of this gap between where I am and where I want to be. Right. And that creates the illusion of time. Right? We imagine a different now in the future, creates the illusion of time, and creates suffering, because it makes that, which is completely imaginary and illusory, better than this, which makes this less than. But if I take right now, whatever happens to be going on, and I do not compare it to any other time, past or future, is there anything wrong? You can only say something's wrong with right now if you compare it to something else. Take away the comparison, and you find you are sitting in paradise. Adam and Eve. Thanks, Andrew. Thank you for clarifying that. Yes, I love Krishnamurti. I'm going to be doing a retreat, an online retreat for the Krishnamurti Center of Canada on 3 days, end of June 24th, 5th, and 6th. And I think 2023, I will be doing it in person again. They haven't resumed quite yet, but by the end of the year, they may be resuming in person. So I may be doing that. Well, I will be doing it, I know. It's just, yeah. So, it's, I bring more people to the retreats than they do, so it's kind of my gift to them, because half of the proceeds go to them to support it, because it's completely a non-profit. So they get half the money, and I get half for showing up. Let's see. Balayani is great. Thank you, G. Wonderful satsang. You're welcome. Yes, I am the seer, the seeing, and the seen. They all collapse into the I am, the self. Because you can't have one without the other. And so you see that there's something transcendent of all that. I can look at myself as the seen, I can look at myself as the seer, I can look at myself as the seeing. And they all collapse just in this knowingness. Thank you. You're welcome, Klesu. Deepest gratitude from us both. Another deep dive into truth. Wonderful. You're welcome. Dale, I really feel lost now. I'm going to sit with this. Your words are piercing, but clearly needed in this moment for this form here. Thanks, mate. The mind is me. Yes. The mind is really the activity of consciousness. The thought mind is an illusion that doesn't exist. So in that sense, the mind is a mirage that does not exist. But what it is, a mirage, what the mirage is projected on is you. And that does exist. I'm going through your course all the way to the end, one step at a time. See you next week, brother. See you too, Dale. Marty Hale. Hi, G. Conditioning coming up hard and persistent lately. This is good, right? Yes, it's good. Still feels uncomfortable and discouraging at times. Hang in there, right? Yes, but let's even do better than that. Let's not just hang in there, shall we? Let's look at this. Conditioning coming up hard and persistent feels uncomfortable and discouraging. Hard, persistent, uncomfortable, and discouraging are not your reaction to the conditioning. That is the conditioning. You following? That is the conditioning. A feeling arises, and then the conditioning says, it's coming up hard. Right? That is, I don't like this, I don't want to be here. That's conditioning. It's persisting, it just keeps coming. Also a thought, also the conditioning. Right? It's uncomfortable. Does the feeling itself say I'm uncomfortable? Or is that a thought that happens after the fact? Same thing with it's discouraging. And then there's this feeling of being discouraged. That is all the conditioning. Take a big step back and look at it. And you'll see that it's not you who is getting discouraged. It's not you who's feeling uncomfortable. That the uncomfortable feeling and feeling of discouragement is the conditioning presenting it, and you have just subtly kind of took the bait. It hooked you. Right? By saying, I am uncomfortable. You say, and you think the I that Siri is saying is you. So Siri is saying, it feels uncomfortable and discouraging. Is there anybody there who's actually feeling uncomfortable and discouraged? Or is there just a feeling running through the system? And what is a feeling other than an evanescent ripple in the limitless ocean of the self? Ponder that. Take it to heart. Take a big step back. None of it is you. You are not any of the conditioning, and every experience you have is the conditioning. The moment you see it as conditioning, it can begin to dissolve, and eventually you will see that it's not even conditioning, it is simply the permutations, the self-configuration of the self. And there's not even a conditioned mind. Resistance is futile. Just surrender. Yes, indeed. We are Borg. Thanks, GP. Great satsang. Thank you, John. All right. I'm going to leave it at that today. I do like where we went today. I hope everybody else did as well. And thank you for all coming with me. Thank you for being willing to really step into the final assessment. Right? All the other assessments, talking about EFT and the conditioning and the nervous system and reconciliation and all these things, they are a concession, right? To bring perception along, to bring the sense of a separate self along to the point where it can surrender itself. And you see that there never was a separate self. It never existed. That I that has been so persistent does not actually exist. But you do. And you are the true I. And there's only one of you. There is none. No one reaches him but himself. Only God knows God. Only awareness knows awareness. Only consciousness knows consciousness. Only knowingness knows knowingness. The very fact that you are conscious means you are the self. Thank you, everybody. Oops, you feel a lot of pain. It does feel never ending. We'll continue to be with and cry and be with it. Yes. I do feel a lot of pain. Yes. Bring it down to simply the energy that is being experienced without a story. It can only be pain when there is a sense, even a subtle sense, that I want things to be different than they are. Otherwise, it's just sensation. And if tears come, let them come. Yeah. Anger comes, let it come. But do not identify with it and don't regard it as a problem. Thanks, Dale. Oh, thanks, Mary. Thanks, John. Thanks, Stephen and Elaine. Thank you, Faith. Thank you, everyone that I didn't mention because you're off the screen now. And thank you, BS. Thank you. Namaste, everybody. I'll see you. I'm doing a meditation tomorrow morning for the Enlightened World Network, which is just that group. And Lisa needs the day off on Tuesday, so I'm going to be doing the show alone. I'm just going to do a meditation and just answer questions. So there won't be an official Om School live on Tuesday. So until then, everyone, I love you all. Namaste.